What if I told you that every death in the Culling Game, every player forced to kill, every curse unleashed, was never about survival or evolution? What if Kenjaku's true objective had nothing to do with creating the perfect sorcerer, and everything to do with something far more terrifying? Something that would reshape the very fabric of Jujutsu society and humanity itself? The Culling Game isn't just a twisted tournament, it's a ritual, and the endgame is already in motion. Welcome back, sorcerers. Today we're dissecting the most complex plan in Jujutsu Kaisen history. Kenjaku, the 1,000-year-old curse user who's been manipulating events from the shadows, orchestrated the Culling Game with surgical precision. But while most fans see it as chaos, there's a methodical genius behind every rule, every binding vow, every player awakened. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what Kenjaku is building toward, and why it's more horrifying than Sukuna's reign of terror. And yes, we're diving deep into manga territory, so consider this your only spoiler warning. Let's start with what we know. The Culling Game was announced after the Shibuya incident, when Kenjaku revealed his plan to the remaining Jujutsu sorcerers. On the surface, it appears to be a barbaric competition, where awakened sorcerers and reincarnated players must earn points by killing each other, with non-participation resulting in their cursed technique being removed, effectively killing them. But here's the critical detail most people overlook. Kenjaku didn't need to create the Culling Game to kill people. He's had 1,000 years to massacre humanity, if that was his goal. So why now? Why this specific structure? The answer lies in what Kenjaku actually is. He's not just a curse user. He's a researcher, an innovator who spent a millennium studying cursed energy, barrier techniques, and the fundamental nature of souls. His true identity as the ancient sorcerer who can transfer his brain into different bodies reveals his obsession with one thing: transcending the limitations of Jujutsu sorcery as it currently exists. And the Culling Game is his grandest experiment. Let's break down the mechanics. Kenjaku spent years marking non-sorcerers with cursed objects, essentially planting seeds that would later bloom into cursed techniques when activated. He used Mahito's idol transfiguration, modified and perfected, to alter the brains of millions. Then, on October 31st in Shibuya, he activated them. But here's the key: not all at once, and not randomly. The players were specifically chosen. Former sorcerers from previous eras were given new vessels through reincarnation. Modern humans were awakened with techniques that complemented Kenjaku's needs. This wasn't a lottery, this was cultivation. Now consider the rules of the game itself. Rule 1. Players must declare participation within 19 days of awakening. Rule 2. Players who don't score points within 19 days have their cursed techniques removed. Rule 3. Players can score points by killing other players, with points varying based on the target. These rules seem designed to create conflict, but they're actually designed to create data. Every fight, every technique used, every creative application of cursed energy feeds into Kenjaku's research. He's watching sorcerers push their abilities to the absolute limit under life or death pressure. But the real brilliance is in the barriers. Kenjaku created 10 separate colonies, each with its own game master and barrier specifications. These barriers aren't just arenas, they're controlled environments. Think about what barriers represent in Jujutsu Kaisen. They're physical manifestations of cursed energy that can manipulate space, enforce rules, and even alter the properties of cursed techniques within them. Tengen, the immortal sorcerer who maintains barriers across Japan, represents the old system. Kenjaku is building something to replace it. This brings us to Tengen. Kenjaku's stated goal involves merging Tengen with humanity, but what does that actually mean? Tengen exists in a state between human and curse, maintaining stability through the star plasma vessel system. When Kenjaku forced Tengen's evolution by preventing the merger with Riko Amanai years ago, he set up a future where Tengen would become vulnerable. An evolved Tengen, merged with humanity through the Culling Game's cursed energy output, would create something unprecedented. A collective consciousness bound by cursed energy, with Kenjaku controlling the infrastructure. Think about the implications. If Kenjaku merges Tengen with humanity, he's not just creating chaos. He's creating a new world order where cursed energy flows through every human, where the barrier between human and cursed dissolves completely. It's forced evolution on a species-wide scale, and the Culling Game is the catalyst that generates enough cursed energy, enough death, enough violence to make that merger possible. But there's another layer. Kenjaku made a binding vow with Sukuna. The exact terms haven't been fully revealed, but we know it involves giving Sukuna free rein for 1 minute in exchange for cooperation. Why would Kenjaku, someone who's planned for centuries, willingly unleash the King of Curses? Because Sukuna isn't a threat to his plan. Sukuna is part of it. The chaos Sukuna creates, the cursed energy he generates, the barriers he destroys, all of it feeds into Kenjaku's ultimate goal. Let's talk about the other players Kenjaku specifically reincarnated. Ancient sorcerers from the Heian era, the golden age of Jujutsu, were brought back for a reason. These weren't random selections. Each one represents a piece of Jujutsu history, a technique or knowledge that modern sorcerers have lost. By forcing them to fight in the Culling Game, Kenjaku is stress-testing the entire evolution of Jujutsu sorcery across 1,000 years. He's comparing ancient techniques to modern ones, seeing which adaptations survive, which innovations matter. And then there's the cursed objects themselves. Kenjaku has been collecting them for who knows how long. The same way Sukuna's fingers were distributed, Kenjaku distributed incarnated cursed objects, but with far more control over the outcome. This suggests he's not just interested in raw power, he's interested in specific combinations, specific interactions between cursed techniques. The Culling Game is his laboratory, and every player is a variable in an equation only he fully understands. Here's where it gets truly disturbing. Kenjaku's plan doesn't require him to win the Culling Game. It doesn't even require him to survive it in the traditional sense. Remember, he can transfer his consciousness to new bodies. As long as the game runs its course, as long as enough cursed energy is generated and enough data is collected, the merger with Tengen can proceed. The protagonists could kill every reincarnated sorcerer, defeat every curse user, and still be playing exactly into Kenjaku's hands. So what happens if Kenjaku succeeds? If Tengen merges with humanity, the entire population of Japan, possibly the world, becomes a unified cursed energy network. Cursed spirits would manifest differently. Sorcerers would be obsolete, or perhaps everyone would become sorcerers. The fundamental rules of the Jujutsu Kaisen world would rewrite themselves, and Kenjaku, as the architect of this new system, would become something close to a god in this world. Not through raw power like Sukuna, but through control of the infrastructure itself. The heroes are fighting on multiple fronts without fully understanding the war. Yuji wants to save people and stop the killing. Yuta wants to protect his friends and end the game. Maki wants revenge and to destroy the corrupt sorcerer families. But none of these goals address the actual threat. Even if they rescue every player, even if they kill Sukuna himself, the merger could still happen. Because the Culling Game was never about the players surviving. It was about the energy they generate through conflict. Kenjaku is the perfect villain for Jujutsu Kaisen because he represents the ultimate perversion of knowledge and longevity. He's had 1,000 years to observe, plan, and prepare. Every major event in the series, from the death of the Star Plasma Vessel to the Shibuya incident, has been a stepping stone toward this moment. And the terrifying part? We still don't know all of his contingencies. Someone who thinks in terms of centuries doesn't just have one plan. He has backups, fail-safes, alternative routes to the same destination. The Culling Game is Kenjaku's masterpiece, but it's also his final gambit. Everything he's worked toward for a millennium comes down to this. And whether the heroes realize it or not, they're running out of time to stop not just the game, but the fundamental transformation of their entire world. So here's the real question we should be asking. Can Kenjaku's plan actually be stopped? Or is the Culling Game already too far gone? Can you undo a ritual that's built on the deaths of hundreds, the awakening of thousands, and the evolution of an immortal being? the answer might be more terrifying than we think. Because in Jujutsu Kaisen, knowledge is power, and no one has more knowledge than the sorcerer who's been alive for 1,000 years, watching, waiting, and perfecting his ultimate technique, patience.